Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video, which is a reading vlog, and I haven't filmed one of those in probably a couple of months. I honestly can't remember the last time I filmed one. I have been in such a reading slump. The past couple months have been so crazy busy. If you guys have watched any of my other videos, you could probably tell that I am in a new space, and that is because my husband and I moved probably a week ago. I think it's been a week. In January, I read a total of 9 books, which is pretty normal for me as a reader. I read anywhere between probably 6 to 10 books a month. But in February, I only read 1 book. And then in March, I haven't completed a single book, and it's the end of March. Honestly, that's super sad. And I say that because reading is my me time. It's a way that I wind down. I set a 2026 reading goal, and I was hoping to read 80 books this year. I don't know if that's gonna happen because, like I said, in February I only read 1 book, and then it's the end of March and I still haven't even finished a book. So I don't know if that's possible, but I just want to get back into reading. I'm not gonna put goals on myself. If I don't reach that number, that's totally fine. I just want to read for enjoyment, and I feel like sometimes it becomes a checklist thing. I really don't have any tips and tricks for getting out of a reading slump, because if I did, then hopefully I would never be in one. But sometimes life gets busy and the importance level of your hobbies just kind of drops down. So today we're hopefully going to be getting back into reading. One thing that I do like to do when I'm trying to get out of a reading slump, it doesn't always work, but sometimes it will, and that is to pick up a really fast-paced book. For me, I feel like a fast-paced book is a romance book or something by Frida McFadden. I actually read Dear Debbie in February. That's the only book I read, and I read that in 1 day because her books are just so fast-paced. But today we're going to be starting with a romance. Romance isn't my top genre that I usually pick up. They're more of palette cleansers for me, and I don't say that as in they're bad books or a genre I don't like. I just feel like they're really fast-paced and it's easy to get through romance books. So we're going to be starting with a romance book that I've actually been really excited for. I actually started this book last night while I was laying in bed. I feel like at night I've been scrolling on my phone way too much, and so I put my phone down last night and I started reading this book, and I actually got 32% of the way through, which seems pretty far, but I'm only 105 pages in. And the book that I started is called How to Write a Love Story by Catherine Walsh. This is a new release. I actually found Catherine Walsh this past December. I was watching a reading vlog and her 2 Christmas rom-com-y type books were recommended. So I read both of those in December. The first one that I read was Holiday Romance. It's #1 in her interconnected standalone series. There are characters in the first one that appear in the second one, but you really don't need the context to read both of them. But I enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it a 3-star. I feel like it was nothing too crazy. It was a really good holiday read, and I feel like it was very atmospheric. Basically, it's about these 2 friends that met at the airport years ago, and they end up traveling back for Christmas every year together, and then obviously it turns into a romance. So it's kind of nice because they've known each other for years, and so you get to see the chapters flip back to like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and see what their interactions are. The second one is called Snowed In, and I actually gave this one a 4.5 star, which is really high for a romance. I usually don't rate romances that high, but I just love this one. I also read this one in December. We're following 2 characters, and I believe that this does have fake dating. One thing about me is I usually don't remember what happens in books unless I'm obsessed with them, and so this one I'm not really remembering what happened in, but I know there's something about fake dating, and then they end up getting snowed in together, hence the title being Snowed In, and I really enjoyed this one. I did see that she had a new book coming out this year, and I put it on my TBR, and that book is out. So that's a long way of saying that I started her new book last night. Sam is our mailman character, and he is a publisher, and he lives in New York City, and his publishing company is the one that's working with Kiara on this fantasy. They haven't heard from her in a couple of weeks, and she has a deadline coming up. So Sam is actually sent out to Ireland to help her work on this. So he flies out there. He is a huge fan of Kiara's dad's work. He even has like a tattoo of the series because he's obsessed with it. And so right now he just got to Ireland, and they had their first little meeting. They really don't get along. She doesn't like that he's a fanboy of her dad's work, and so he's trying to help her, but she's avoiding him. So far, I feel like our characters are very basic. I feel like I'm not connecting with either of them. There's nothing really super special about them. The only thing that's keeping me reading is I'm a huge fantasy reader, and so I feel like it's kind of cool that this is a combination of fantasy almost, because that's the book that she's writing, and we get a little bit of backstory on the books that her dad wrote. The only part that I'm really enjoying is talking about her father that passed away, who's a fantasy writer. So I will keep going, and I'm hoping that I won't DNF it, and maybe I just need to force myself not to DNF it, because I feel like right now I just need to finish a book. But today's Friday. I just did a big reset on our apartment. It's actually the first reset that I've done since we've been in in this space, and so it feels so nice to just have everything clean. So I think right now I'm probably gonna make some cookies and take you guys along with me for that. I'm gonna be doing a classic chocolate chip, and then I found this like Easter spring Cadbury egg type cookie. So basically it's a classic chocolate chip cookie, but then you crush up the Cadbury eggs, and so it kind of has like the M&M coating crunchy shell. So we're just gonna do some baking and some reading. I have flour all over my shirt. I don't know if you can see that. While the dough's sitting in the fridge, I thought that I would go through some of my favorite reads the past couple of months. I haven't caught up with you guys about reading in a minute. The last vlog that I posted was our Japan vlog, and that was months ago. I'm gonna talk to you guys about some of my favorite recent reads. I read The Favorites in January by Lane Fargo. I had this recommended to me several different times, and so I finally read it in January, and I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4-star. I read this book so quickly. I absolutely loved it. It's about two skaters. They are competitive figure skating partners. It really gives the ins and outs of the sport. I feel like I learned a lot about figure skating, and I read it at a perfect time because the Winter Olympics came on a couple weeks after I read it, and so it kind of put me in the spirit, and I watched a lot of the figure skating. I really enjoyed this. I feel like it was a really raw, real story. It was a slower story because you're going through years worth of a relationship between the two characters. And then I read the first Mistborn in January. I'm actually halfway through the second Mistborn. Brandon Sanderson is one of those authors that I've been so intimidated to pick up because he has so many books, and he does epic fantasy, and so there's a lot of politics and world building. So my dad actually sent me the Mistborn books because I was telling him that I wouldn't read them. He sent me the first 3 books, which is the original trilogy, and then I think they went on to make like 4 more. So I think there's 7 in total. I could be completely wrong. I read the first one in January, and I rated that a 4-star, which again is really good for a fantasy. Felt like it was very slow until like the last 100 pages, and then everything just like finished up way too quickly for me. The first half of it was a lot of politics, and it was very slow. I actually considered DNFing it, but because my dad sent it to me, I really wanted to talk to him about the series. But I'm so glad that I finished that first book, because now that I'm halfway through the second, I'm really enjoying it. I feel like the world building was very necessary in the first book. I feel like the slowness of it, getting to know the characters and the magic system, because the magic system is a little bit complicated and intimidating. I didn't really understand or grasp it until probably the end of the first book. I'm hoping to finish the second one soon and then go on to the third. I'm gonna go scoop the cookie dough and then bake those cookies. Hi guys, happy Saturday. It's probably not Saturday when you're watching this, but it is Saturday for me. I had a super slow morning, which was amazing, and I got some reading done, which I was really happy about. So I'm now 45% of the way through the book, and honestly my thoughts are still the same. I'm still not super connected to the characters or the story. I'm not really seeing where the romance could come from because their relationship seems very professional in the sense of like editor and writer. Yesterday we just had a super relaxing night. Obviously I made the cookies, which you guys saw, and then I did meal prep some vegetables. I guess not really meal prep, I just cut them up. But I find that I don't eat my vegetables if they're not prepped because it usually takes too long, in my opinion, to prep them when you need them. And then we had my little brother over for dinner and we made homemade burgers with a couple of sides. And then we watched a movie with him. We watched the third X-Men. We've been kind of going through the X-Men catalog. And then, like I said, I've had a slow morning. I really don't have that many plans for the rest of the afternoon. There's a few things that I want to do. I'm hoping that I can finish this book today. Another thing that I want to do is I'm hoping that we can update my reading journal. Hunter got this for me for Christmas because I tried making my own reading journal last year and I'm really just not that artistic and I really didn't love how it turned out, and so I didn't really end up using it. Hi guys, it's a couple hours later. I finished adding everything into my reading journal, so I'm all caught up. I only had about 6 books to even add to it, so I really wasn't that far behind, but it helps that I haven't been reading consistently. And then since then, I've been editing my moving vlog, which I'm super excited about. It's mainly just for the memories, so that video is gonna be out before this one. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely go watch our moving vlog. But I just got a little afternoon pick-me-up drink. I'm going to go meet up with Hunter, and we're gonna hang out and spend some time at like a few little shops. Hi guys, I wanted to come on here and give you a little bit of an update. It's been probably a day and a half or 2 days since I last filmed and updated you guys. We've had a super busy week. This weekend we're going out of town to Nashville, Tennessee to visit my family. We did end up finishing our book, which is honestly such a big thing for me because I haven't finished a book in over a month and a half. Like I told you guys, this is a new release. It came out the beginning of March and it is now the end of March. So I read this relatively fast. I was super excited for this one. I really thought that the premise sounded very interesting. I ended up giving this book a 2.5 star, and that's honestly a pretty low rating. I really just ended up not loving this book. I feel like I did not connect with either of our characters, but this is supposed to be a romance book and I felt like the romance kind of got lost and it was more of a subplot. I really didn't start seeing the romance until about 70% of the way through, and for it to be marketed as a romance, I was expecting a lot more romance and for more chemistry. I feel like they had no build up as a couple. They really just like ignored each other and professionally worked together, and then that was it. All in all, it was a pretty quick read. I really don't think that I would recommend this book, unfortunately, especially if you're reading it for romance. I would say this is probably a skip, unfortunately. And I hate to say that because I really enjoyed one of her other books, but that's the thing about reading, is you guys may read it and absolutely love it, but it's just personally not for me. But I did get a chance to start our new book yesterday, which is one that I'm so excited about. Hunter and I actually went to Barnes & Noble because I was planning on picking up this book in person. Like I said, we are going to be traveling this weekend, and so I wanted to bring a physical copy with me. I went to Barnes & Noble to pick up that specific copy of this book, and they were all out, which is so disappointing because I always see huge stacks of it. But I ended up getting it on Kindle, which honestly might work better because then I don't have to carry a book around with me. Last night I started this book, and guys, I have to say, this is usually not a genre that I read, and I think that's why I'm loving it so much. Sometimes when I'm in a reading slump, I just need to mix things up. The book is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I know that this is a super popular book. I believe that they may have a TV show about this. This book is a sci-fi thriller, which is a genre that I never reach for. This is a little bit of a shorter book as well. It's only about 427 pages on the Kindle, but it may be even shorter than that in person because I remember it being like a little bit of a thinner book. So we have our main character, Jason, and he is a scientist of sorts. In the start of the book, he works at a university as a teacher. One of Jason's friends ends up winning this really big scientific prize, and his wife, Daniela, encourages him to go down to the bar and celebrate with his friend. While he's down at the bar, something happens. I won't explain what because it's kind of a little bit of a big part of the story. And he is kidnapped by someone, and then all of a sudden he wakes up and he has no idea where he is and slowly realizes that his life isn't the one that he thought that it was. His wife isn't his wife, his son isn't his son, his son's actually not even born. It's almost like this alternate reality. You really have no idea what's going on. Like I said, I'm about 39% of the way through and I still have so many questions. I will say the chapters are super long, but it does make you think a lot, and so I'm really enjoying this one. I'm hoping to finish this before we leave on our trip actually, because we don't leave until tomorrow afternoon. Let's continue reading. I'm gonna see how far I can get into it. One thing that I will say is the more that I read, the more scientific terms there are. I feel like the author does an okay job at explaining what he's talking about. I just think for me, it's a lot of sciencey terms, and that hasn't been until about the last 10% because he's now in a lab with people who say that they've been friends with him for 10 years, that he has no idea who they are, but he's hoping that they can help him find answers and explain everything to him and kind of what's going on. Hi guys, so I'm working on my scrapbook. I've been working on it for about an hour and just watching some TV while I've been doing it, but I wanted to give you a quick scrapbook tour. Just for some context, Hunter and I went to Japan, I think in August maybe, and while we were on that trip, we took tons of pictures. We were there for 10 days. Also saved a bunch of different things like receipts, pamphlets, maps, tickets to different things we did. And so I wanted to combine it into a junk journal, and I really haven't gotten around to it until now. It's currently March, and so it's taken me a couple of months, and I've just had these supplies sitting in my closet in a bag. So I do have a huge mess going on right now, but in this corner right here, I divided the pictures up into the different sections. So we did zoos, aquariums, museums, and then we went to like a couple gardens that I have pictures from. We went to a lot of Pokemon centers because Hunter's a big Pokemon fan. We opened a lot of Pokemon packs. And so I do have this all separated by category on which page that I want to do, which honestly took probably the longest. So let me show you guys a few things that I saved. This is my little pamphlet that I have full of stuff. So I've been storing it all in our Cup of Noodles museum. We went to the Cup of Noodles museum, and honestly it was a little bit underwhelming. For example, we have a train ticket that I saved. These are tickets for the ropeway that we did, and we took a bunch of really nice pictures. I also saved the hotel that we went to. This is what the keys came in. It's the little key holder. They wouldn't let us take the physical keys home, and so this is what I saved. This is our room number at the top. We stayed at Coco Hotels in room 507. Hunter loves McDonald's, and so this is a McDonald's receipt that I'm going to be putting in the scrapbook as well. And then we just have like a few Pokemon pamphlets and maps for the aquarium that we went to, as well as the tickets for the aquarium. This isn't even half of what I saved. I kind of was a hoarder and I saved way too much, but I knew that I wanted to make a junk journal scrapbook. I used to be very into scrapbooks. I remember I made a couple during COVID of just different events in my life, and so I have those. They're back home at my parents' house right now. So this is my first one that I've made in a very, very long time. So this is my scrapbook. I got a pack of 2 off of Amazon a while back, and it did have like a ribbon that tied closed, but while we were moving, must have came off somehow. The very first page in the scrapbook, which honestly I'm not in love with. I really don't love how this turned out. I think I had like a different vision than how it came out. But I have a picture of us in the garden for the main picture, but I just did like an airplane sticker. I cut out some Pokemon packs that we opened, a picture of the Pokemon packs, and put those right there. This is the United Airlines bag tag that we have that I stuck on here, and then I have a picture of the panda from the zoo that we went to. This is a ticket for the train that we went on, and then I have a globe. This right here came on High Chews. It's like a temporary tattoo type thing, but obviously I didn't use it as the tattoo. High Chews were one of my favorite candies that I had in Japan. They have so many different flavors. And so I kept this just because it's fun. And then this is the business card for the hotel that we stayed at up here in the corner. This is probably my least favorite page. I feel like I had a different vision for it, but I'm gonna keep playing around with it and see if I can add anything to it. And then we flip the page, and this page I left open because I'm not sure what I want to do on this. I have a lot of train tickets that I may put on this one, as well as different things from our hotel. So I think that's what I'm saving this one for. But this next page I love. This is the zoo that we went to. This zoo was honestly so clean, and it was so fun and very well taken care of. I was so impressed with how big the enclosures were for the animals. We had such a fun day. It was so hot outside, but they had a lot of shade. So this is a picture of us in front of one of the little traditional towers that they have there. And then we have both of our zoo tickets. I like that they were both different, have different animals on them, so I saved those. And then I cut this out from the English map. We took home an English map and a Japanese map. So I cut this out from the English map and have it on the side, and then this just came from another little pamphlet. Honestly, I'm obsessed with this page. I feel like it turned out so well. And then the next page is another zoo page. I only did 3 pages today because I kind of want to space it out, and I have some packing to do for our trip to Nashville tonight, so I'm gonna stop here. But this is the next zoo page, and I love this one too. So they took this little picture of us for free up in this corner. The big thing in their zoo is the pandas, and everybody comes to see the pandas. They had a red panda, like a baby red panda that was so cute, and we tried waiting in line to see that panda, but it was such a long wait that we didn't get to see that panda. Anyways, pandas are really big there, and so they took this picture of us. I love this page. This is Hunter and I in front of the giraffes. There's a giraffe above my head and above his head over here. I cut this out from the zoo map, and then I just put zoo day on here, and then some more of these little monkey cutouts. So I love how this page turned out. Honestly, I have more pictures and more things for at least one more zoo page, so I'm probably gonna do one more zoo page. And I think that I'm gonna end up doing an aquarium page. We went to 2 different aquariums. I have a bunch of different other pages that I have planned over here. So I need to clean up my mess, and then I need to start packing for Nashville, and then hopefully we can finish Dark Matter tonight. Hi guys, it's been a few days since my last update. Over the weekend, Hunter and I went to Nashville to visit my family. I was planning on vlogging our Nashville trip, but honestly, once I got there, I realized that I really don't see my family that much, and so I just spent the entire weekend with them, which was so nice and very much needed. Honestly, it was a really good trip. It was very quick. We were only there for 3 days. I wish that it was longer, but no complaints. It was a super great weekend. I'm so happy I got to see my family. While we were traveling to Nashville, I was able to finish Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. As I told you guys earlier, I don't read a lot of sci-fi thriller books, and so I was hoping that if I read a different genre, it would kind of help me get out of my reading slump. And I can say that it actually worked. This book I flew through so quickly. I read this in probably a day and a half. I feel like the first half of this book flew by, and every single page it was keeping you on your toes, and you really had no idea what was going on until probably like 60 to 70% of the book. So it definitely was a trust the process type of book, but I really enjoyed this. I rated this a 3.5 stars, which if you know me, that's still a really good rating. I think my only issue with it was the ending happened super quickly. There was a bunch of build up, and then everything just kind of unfolded super quickly. I really liked our main character, Jason, and I felt like he was super relatable. I felt like his mission was very clear throughout the entire book, and you knew what he was hoping to accomplish, and because of that, you were rooting for him. I can officially say that I'm not in my reading slump anymore. Since finishing this book, I've been able to read 2 other books, and that has just felt so good. So honestly, I think my 2 tricks worked. So reading a fast-paced book and then trying to switch up genres, and I feel like that really helped. Because of this book, I think that I'm gonna be adding some more sci-fi thriller type books onto my TBR because I actually found that I really enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate all of the love and support. Drop a comment if you guys have read any of these books that I read in this vlog, and I will see you in my next video.